I never expected today to go this wrong. Honestly, most days at Westwood High were boring enough to be forgettable, but this morning had that strange tingle in my stomach, the kind that warns you something awful is coming. I shoved my notebook into my bag and tried to act casual as I walked into the cafeteria. "Hey, Alex." Ryan waved from the table near the windows. His smile always made my chest thump faster than it should. I forced a wave back. I slid into my usual seat alone. "Morning, Ryan," I mumbled, keeping my eyes on my tray. He grinned, clearly not noticing my awkwardness. "You're quiet today. Everything okay?" I wanted to say yes, wanted to sound normal, but I just nodded. "Yeah, fine." That's when I saw her. Lily. Her backpack was torn, shoes scuffed, and her lunch tray empty. A group of older boys cornered her near the drinks machine, laughing cruelly. "Give me your sandwich, loser," one sneered. "Come on, just hand it over," another said, shoving her lightly. Something inside me snapped. My stomach twisted, but not with fear, anger. I grabbed my tray and walked toward them, my hands trembling. "Hey!" I shouted louder than I intended. "Leave her alone." The boys turned to me, smirks on their faces. "Oh, look who's trying to play hero," one said. "I don't care," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Just back off." Lily glanced at me, her eyes wide, a flicker of hope shining through. "Fine, whatever," the first boy muttered, shoving her shoulder. "This isn't worth it." They left, snickering, and I felt my chest heave with relief. Lily looked at me like I'd just saved the world. "Thanks," she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't know what to do. I smiled awkwardly. "It's nothing." "Here?" I pushed my tray toward her. "You can have my lunch. You look like you haven't eaten." She stared at me, her lips twitching in a strange expression. "You want me to take it?" "Yeah. Please," I said, feeling proud for doing the right thing. For a moment she hesitated. Then, without warning, she grabbed the soup bowl and hurled it straight at me. The hot liquid drenched my shirt, my hair, and even my notebook. I froze. What the? Lily stepped back, her eyes wide and unreadable. "Take that, hero?" The cafeteria erupted in laughter. My stomach sank as whispers and giggles echoed around me. I looked up and Ryan. He was smirking, leaning back in his chair, not a hint of concern on his face. "Nice save," he said, his voice mocking but calm. I couldn't speak. My mouth felt dry, my hands shaking. Why would you?" I started, my voice breaking. He shrugged. "Just saying, funny I guess." I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. Humiliation wrapped around me tighter than any hug ever could. The soup dripped down my shirt, soaking my bag and ruining my notebook. My stomach churned, not just from the hot liquid but from betrayal. I just wanted to help," I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. Lily's face softened slightly. "I didn't mean. You didn't mean what?" I demanded, my voice cracking. "You just humiliated me in front of everyone." She looked down, fidgeting with the strap of her backpack. I don't know. I can't trust people, sometimes." "Sometimes?" I echoed, disbelief slicing through me. "You threw soup at me. I tried to help you." Ryan chuckled quietly, still smirking. "Looks like kindness doesn't always pay off, huh?" I clenched my fists, trying to stop the sting of tears. I guess not," I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. I felt my heart breaking, not just from embarrassment, but from the realization that the world wasn't as simple as I thought. Helping someone shouldn't hurt this much. And Ryan, my crush, the guy I thought might notice me someday, he just watched and laughed. I wiped my face with a napkin, but the hot, humiliating burn remained. The cafeteria slowly returned to its normal chatter, but I felt frozen in a bubble of shame and regret. I wanted to disappear, to escape, to rewind the last 5 minutes and make a different choice. But I couldn't. I picked up my ruined notebook, still trembling. "I guess, maybe I should just keep to myself," I muttered. Lily glanced at me again, guilt flickering across her face. I'm sorry," she said softly, almost under her breath. I shook my head. "It's fine. Really. Just don't do it to anyone else, okay?" She nodded slowly. Her eyes were sad but guarded. Ryan gave me one last smirk before turning back to his friends. "Better luck next time, hero." I sighed, feeling the weight of the cafeteria's laughter pressing down on me. Today was supposed to be normal. Just another day. But now, everything had broken. And I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't sleep. Not after today. Not after everything. My shirt was still damp from the cafeteria disaster, my notebook ruined, my pride shredded. I stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks as if they held answers. Why me? I muttered into the dark. Why does kindness always backfire? No answer came. Just the ticking of the old clock in my room, loud enough to echo my racing thoughts. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, but it didn't help. Shame clung to me like a second skin, heavier than any weight I'd felt before. Maybe I'm too soft, I whispered, voice trembling. Too trusting. The shadows in my room seemed to stretch, twisting with my unease. And then, strangely, it felt like something shifted. A warmth rose inside my chest, not from comfort but from power. What is this? I murmured, clutching my heart. My reflection in the dark window looked different. Stronger. Sharper. Not the awkward, humiliated mess I'd been this morning. I sat up, eyes wide. No, this can't be real. A voice, my own, echoed inside my head. It is real. You're awake now. Awake to what you should have been all along. I froze. Who's there? Not who. What? Yourself. The voice was calm, certain, like someone finally confident in who they were. All those times you let people walk over you, it ends tonight. I swallowed hard. Ends how? I'm just me. I'm weak. I get hurt. Not anymore. Weakness is a choice. Trust is a tool. You've been reborn in shadows. Use it. A chill ran down my spine. Reborn in shadows. The words felt like fire, burning away my old doubts. For the first time in hours, or maybe years, I felt a pulse of clarity. So, I just change? I asked, unsure if I was imagining it all. Yes. Start small. Start smart. Observe. Learn. Take control. I glanced at the corner of my room, at the pile of ruined notebooks, the reminders of my mistakes. So, this is my chance? My reset. Exactly. No one is coming to save you. Ryan won't. Lily won't. Your so-called friends? They'll step over you if you let them. But you can rise. I clenched my fist. Rise how? Step 1, no more blind trust. Step 2, sharpen your mind, your instincts. Step 3, plan. Execute. Reclaim your space. I could feel it, a fire bubbling under my skin, a thrill I'd never known. My shame hadn't vanished, but it had hardened into focus. I pictured the cafeteria, the laughing faces, Ryan's smug smirk. My heart clenched, not with hurt this time, but with determination. Reclaim my space, I repeated. Yeah, I can do that. I have to. My inner voice softened. Good. Start tonight. Reflect. Write. Plot. Transform. Every scar, every humiliation, they're lessons, not chains. I grabbed a pen and paper from my desk. I'll write it all down. Every mistake. Every betrayal. Every weakness. And I'll figure out how to turn them into power, I whispered, almost laughing at the thought. The idea was intoxicating. I was no longer the naive, embarrassed kid. I was someone else, someone sharper, someone ready. The darkness of my room no longer felt heavy. It felt protective, like armor. I scribbled furiously, listing mistakes, listing names, mapping out tiny ways to change how I interacted, how I walked, how I was seen. The more I wrote, the lighter my chest felt, the more the shadows seemed to bend toward me rather than consume me. You're awake now, the voice said, fading as the first hints of dawn crept through the blinds. Tomorrow you begin. I looked at my reflection in the window again. The face staring back wasn't trembling or ashamed. It was focused, calculating, ready. Tomorrow, I whispered. Tomorrow, I'm taking back control. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt alive, not broken. The night had been long, strange, terrifying, but also necessary. I'd been humiliated today. I'd been laughed at, used, betrayed. But in these shadows I had found something else. Strength, clarity, and a burning need to rise. Tomorrow the world would see me differently. I would make sure of it. I watched from the back of the cafeteria, notebook closed but mind wide open. Today I wasn't going to be caught off guard. Not again. Ryan sat at his usual table, smirking at anyone who glanced his way. The way he laughed at someone's stumble or twisted a conversation to his advantage, it was subtle, but I noticed. See him? A voice whispered beside me. I turned. Julia. She had that calm air, like she already knew the world's secrets. Yeah, I said cautiously. He's always like that? Always, she replied. But not everyone notices. Most people just follow, laugh along, or fear him. I frowned. Follow? Fear? I don't get it. It's a game, Alex, Julia said, eyes scanning the room. Social rules, alliances, betrayals, they're all part of it. You can play or get played. Yesterday proved that. I shivered at the memory. Yeah. I got humiliated. And he didn't even care. Julia nodded. He never does. He only cares about control. You need to understand that before you move forward. I frowned, biting my lip. So, how do I? Observe first. Don't act yet. Watch reactions, listen to whispers, notice who actually supports whom, Julia said. Then, when the right moment comes, test the waters. You'll know who's loyal, who's fake, and who's dangerous. I nodded slowly, feeling a spark of strategy, maybe even power. Okay, I can do that. You already are, she said with a small smile. Don't underestimate yourself. I spent the next period silently watching. Classmates laughed at Ryan's jokes even when they weren't funny. People whispered behind hands, some supporting, some plotting. It was dizzying but also enlightening. During lunch, I noticed Lily sitting alone, her tray untouched. She glanced up as I approached. Hey, I said cautious. She looked away. Hi. You okay? I asked, unsure if I should care after yesterday. I'm fine, she muttered. Don't think I'm your friend or anything. Yeah. I don't expect that, I admitted, trying not to let my disappointment show. I just wanted to see if you're okay. Her eyes softened slightly. Thanks, I guess. It was awkward, but I noticed it, a flicker of vulnerability. Maybe yesterday hadn't completely hardened her. After lunch, Julia found me again. Notice anything? She asked. I thought for a moment. Yeah, Ryan. He manipulates people. Makes them feel small or funny. Some kids, they follow him blindly. Julia nodded approvingly. Exactly. And that's why you can't just be kind blindly. Kindness is a tool. Use it wisely. Protect yourself first. I frowned. I don't want to be like him, though. You won't, Julia said softly. You're learning the game, not becoming the villain. But understanding the rules is the first step. We walked down the hall together and she leaned slightly closer. And don't forget, not everyone is what they seem. Lily, for example, she's complicated. She tests people, but there's more beneath her walls than you realize. I nodded. Yeah, I noticed that. She's different today. Less hostile, more guarded. Exactly. Observe her too. People reveal themselves in tiny cracks. Learn to see them, Julia said. I started testing myself, small interactions with classmates, seeing who listened, who lied, who laughed at Ryan's jokes without thinking. I even caught a few whispers about yesterday about me. Some pitied me, some laughed. But slowly I began forming my own map. Alliances, enemies, neutrals. By afternoon I had learned one thing for sure. Kindness didn't always get rewarded. Betrayal didn't always announce itself with a smirk. And Ryan, he was cleverer than I thought but not invincible. Alex. Julia called from across the hallway. Lunch tomorrow. You're going to need guidance on strategy. We'll talk about more subtle moves. I grinned, feeling something new. Confidence. Not arrogance, not the hot-headed desire to lash out. Just control. Later I passed by Lily again. She glanced at me and didn't look away immediately. So, you're really paying attention, huh? She asked quietly. I shrugged, trying to act nonchalant. I guess I am. Her lips twitched like she wanted to smile. Good. Just don't expect me to forgive you or anything. I don't, I said. But I see you. That counts, right? She looked at me strangely, then nodded once. Yeah, maybe it does. Walking home, I felt a strange mix of excitement and caution. I had stepped into the shadows yesterday, but today, I was learning to move within them. Each whisper, glance, joke, and betrayal taught me something. Kindness was a tool. Betrayal was subtle. And the world wasn't what I thought it was, but now I could play. Carefully. Strategically. And maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't be humiliated again. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was shifting. Ryan, Lily, even Julia, they were pieces on a board. And I was learning the moves. For the first time I felt like the player, not the pawn. The school auditorium buzzed with chatter, laughter, and the low hum of nervous energy. I stayed at the back, hands tucked in my pockets, eyes scanning every familiar face. Today wasn't about blending in. Today was about observation and action. Alex, are you sure about this? Julia's voice was quiet but sharp. She leaned beside me, her notebook tucked under her arm. I think so, I muttered, trying to sound confident. He's been getting away with it for too long. Today it ends. Julia gave me a small, approving nod. Remember, subtle. Small lies can crumble bigger than you think. Don't let pride make you reckless. I swallowed hard. Pride and caution. Not revenge, not humiliation, control. I could do this. Ryan strutted in, his usual grin plastered across his face, talking loudly with his friends. I told you we nailed the fundraiser last year. Everyone knows I'm the reason it succeeded, he bragged, clearly exaggerating. I bit my lip. Perfect. A tiny lie, and everyone around him was too polite or scared to question it. But today someone would notice. I leaned toward a girl nearby. Hey, remember last year's fundraiser? Who really organized it? She blinked, confused. Well, it was mostly the committee, right? Not just Ryan. I nodded slightly. Exactly. I glanced at Ryan, who was still talking, oblivious to the fact that the tide was shifting. I stepped forward, casually joining the group near him. Hey Ryan, I said, keeping my tone light. Funny thing, I was looking at the fundraiser photos from last year. Looks like Emma did most of the work. I think she deserves more credit than, anyone else. Ryan froze mid-sentence. His grin faltered. Wait, what? No, that's not. Yeah, Emma said quietly but firmly, stepping forward. I really did most of the planning. You were around, sure, but... A ripple of murmurs passed through the group. Ryan's friends shifted awkwardly. I felt a thrill spike through me. The subtle exposure worked. He stammered, trying to defend himself, but the room had already leaned toward reality. Alex, Julia whispered beside me, a hint of warning in her voice. Control it. Don't let it turn into cruelty. I exhaled, shaking slightly. Oh, I'm fine. Just feels good to see it happen naturally. Ryan's face turned red, not just from embarrassment but confusion. Come on. Come on. I echoed softly. People notice when you take credit for what isn't yours. The murmurs grew louder. Ryan's usual smirk was gone, replaced by frustration. For a moment I saw him vulnerable. And I realized, this power wasn't just about revenge. It was about clarity. People seeing truth. Lily appeared behind me, leaning slightly against the wall. Wow, she said quietly. I didn't think you'd actually do it. I glanced at her. Didn't think I'd what? Confront him, expose him, she said. Her voice had that curious mix of admiration and disbelief. I wanted to be careful, I admitted. Just a small test. Nothing over the top. She smiled faintly. It worked. People actually noticed. Even some of his friends are doubting him. I nodded, feeling a strange warmth. Recognition, validation. Not arrogance but acknowledgement that I could handle myself. Julia appeared again, giving me a brief thumbs up. Exactly. Small strikes, calculated. Real power isn't loud, it's deliberate. I caught my reflection in the glass behind the stage, my shoulders straight, chin lifted, eyes alert. Not the timid kid from yesterday, not the humiliated fool from last week. Someone different. Someone aware. Lily stepped closer. You've changed, she said softly. I didn't expect that side of you. I felt a flicker of connection. Yeah, I guess. The world doesn't let you stay the same for long. She nodded, eyes thoughtful. And it's not just about Ryan, right? You're learning something bigger. Yeah, I admitted. Observation. Strategy. Understanding people. I can't rely on blind trust anymore. Good, she said quietly. Just don't lose yourself in it. I won't, I said firmly. Control, not cruelty. That's the rule. Ryan finally managed a shaky laugh, trying to regain composure. Okay, maybe I exaggerated a bit, but still. The room shifted subtly. Whispers, quiet nods, some polite glances toward Emma. Ryan's smirk returned slowly, but it was weaker, forced. I felt the thrill again, not of victory but awareness. Later, as the event ended, Julia leaned in. You handled it well. But remember, one strike doesn't win the game. It's the pattern that matters. Timing, restraint, observation. I nodded. I get it. Small steps. Learn, act, repeat. And notice who's watching you, she added. Not everyone is obvious, but they're paying attention. Especially those who used to underestimate you. I glanced at Lily one last time before leaving the auditorium. She gave a subtle nod, a hint of trust forming. Not friendship, yet, but maybe the beginning of something else. Walking home, I replayed the event in my head. The fear, the thrill, the clarity. I was different now. Confident, aware, cautious but not timid. Kindness still mattered, but timing mattered more. Observation mattered. Control mattered. And today I took the first step in showing it. Tomorrow, the the game would continue. I was walking down the hall, books clutched to my chest, when I felt it, a familiar presence. Ryan. Of course. My chest twisted in ways I didn't want to admit. Crush and resentment tangled like barbed wires inside me. "Hey Alex," he said smoothly, leaning casually against the locker next to mine. "Can we talk?" I froze for a moment, then forced a neutral expression. "Talk? About what?" "Look, I'm sorry about yesterday," he said, voice dripping charm. "I didn't mean to, embarrass you." I arched an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yes," he insisted. I wasn't thinking. It was stupid." I let out a slow breath, watching him carefully. Funny, I thought you were usually thinking about everything." His smirk faltered for half a second before returning. "Maybe, not everything. Can we just start over? Pretend none of it happened." I tilted my head, feigning consideration. "Start over, huh? That sounds interesting." "I promise, Alex. I'll be nicer." "Oh." I held up a hand. "Wait. Let's not rush. I think I need to observe you. See if you're serious." Ryan blinked. "Observe me?" "Yeah," I said, letting a small smile slip. "See if you're genuine." He nodded, though I could sense his impatience. "Fair enough. I can handle that." Later that afternoon, I found myself outside Lily's apartment building. She'd invited me once before when she needed help with homework. But today I noticed something off. She answered the door, eyes tired, clothes worn. "Hey Alex," she said quietly, shifting her weight. "Come in." I stepped inside, careful not to stare. "You okay?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "It's been a rough day. Mom's sick again, bills piling up. I had to skip lunch. I didn't want anyone to notice." My chest ached. "Lily? I had no idea." She shrugged, forcing a small smile. "I try not to let it show. I can handle it." "You don't have to," I said gently. "It's okay to ask for help." "Really?" Her hands twisted nervously. "I know. I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," I said firmly. "You're human. Everyone has struggles." She glanced at me, a flicker of gratitude crossing her face. "Thanks, Alex. That means a lot." We worked on homework quietly, the room filled with scribbling pens and soft sighs. But my mind kept drifting back to Ryan, to the way he approached me earlier, that false charm dripping from every word. I muttered under my breath, more to myself than anyone else. "I see you, Ryan. I know the game you're playing." Lily looked up, puzzled. "Who?" "Never mind," I said, shaking my head. "Just thinking out loud." After a while, Lily leaned back, exhaustion written across her face. "Alex, thanks for today. I don't get this kind of kindness often." I smiled softly. "You deserve it, Lily. You really do." Later I walked home, my mind a storm. Ryan's approach, that fake apology, part of me wanted to expose him again, make him squirm. The other part, this part one was barely admitting even to myself, still felt something like care, residual crush mixed with confusion. "Why do I feel this?" I muttered, pacing. "Why does kindness to her feel right, but dealing with him feel like war?" Julia's words echoed in my memory. "Control, Alex. Observe, don't act blindly. Restraint is power." I clenched my fists, feeling the duality in me, one side plotting karma, another nurturing genuine compassion. Two paths running in parallel, each testing my judgment. That night I sat by my desk reviewing the day. Ryan's words, Lily's struggles, the thrill of subtle exposure, the ache of empathy, it all collided in my mind. I whispered to the dark room, "I can't just be one thing. I have to balance both. Learn the game but not lose my heart." My reflection in the window looked tired but aware. Stronger, yes, but also vulnerable in ways I hadn't let anyone see. I thought of Ryan again, that smug grin, the way he underestimated me. I could expose him, humiliate him, make him regret underestimating me. And yet, I wanted to wait. Study him. Learn more. And Lily, she reminded me why the struggle mattered. Compassion wasn't weakness. Helping her, even in small ways, grounded me. I muttered softly, almost to myself, This is the real test. Control, observation, and keeping my heart intact." The night deepened, but I didn't feel alone. Conflicted, yes. Torn between revenge and empathy, yes. But also I alive. Watching, learning, growing. And when tomorrow came, Ryan would still be out there, unaware. Lily would still need quiet support. And I would navigate both, sharper, wiser, and more aware than ever. The game was more complicated than I thought, but maybe, just maybe, I was ready for it. I watched from the sidelines, notebook clutched tight, as Ryan strutted down the hallway with his usual swagger. Today, I had no intention of confronting him directly. Subtlety was the key. Small moves, careful observation, letting karma do its work while I remained untouchable. "Alex, you're staring again," Julia whispered from beside me, leaning casually against the lockers. "Don't let it show. You're planning, not obsessing." I smirked faintly. "I'm observing." "Big difference." She raised an eyebrow. "Sure, call it that." I followed Ryan into the classroom. He was bragging to a group of students about the science project, taking credit for ideas he hadn't even suggested. "Honestly," he said, puffing his chest, "if it weren't for me, we'd probably fail the whole thing." I muttered under my breath, "Except Emma and Sam did all the work." Emma, who had been quietly nodding, finally spoke. Actually, Ryan, I think Sam and I did most of the experiments." Ryan's face froze, and for a brief moment, the room held its breath. "What? No, that's not true." "Check the logs," I added casually, leaning against the desk. "Everything's documented. You're a bit off on the timeline." Murmurs rippled across the classroom. Ryan's friends exchanged awkward glances. He opened his mouth, closed it, sputtered. Julia leaned closer, whispering, "Good. Small exposure. Don't rush it." I nodded, heart pounding with satisfaction, not from cruelty but from balance being restored. After class, I walked with Lily toward the cafeteria. She seemed quieter than usual, thoughtful. "You okay?" I asked. She hesitated. I've been thinking. About yesterday, about everything." I glanced at her. "About the soup incident?" She flinched slightly. "Yeah. I was scared. Scared of being laughed at, of being rejected again. My parents, they fight a lot. I learned early not to trust anyone or I get hurt. I didn't mean to humiliate you. I just panicked." My chest tightened. "Lily, I get it now. Really. I understand more than you think." Her eyes softened. "I didn't want you to see me as weak." "You're not weak," I said gently. "You were scared. That's human." We walked in silence for a moment, the cafeteria noise around us fading into the background. I realized this, understanding someone's pain, was the counterbalance to the game I was playing with Ryan. Empathy didn't weaken me, it made me sharper, more aware. Later, Mia, one of Lily's friends, came over. "Hey Alex, you've been really supportive." "Oh, we all noticed." I nodded. "Just helping. She deserves it." Mia smiled faintly. "Yeah, she does. And I think you're different from the others. You actually care." I felt a subtle warmth in my chest. "I do. I really do." Back in the classroom, the next stage of karma unfolded. Ryan tried to impress the teacher with a fabricated story about the lab results. And so, obviously, I ran all the calculations alone. I cleared my throat lightly, catching the teacher's attention. "Actually, Mrs. Henderson, the log shows Ryan collaborated with Sam and Emma. The final results credit everyone's contributions." Ryan's smirk faltered. Well, I mean, yeah, but..." Mrs. Henderson raised an eyebrow. "Alex is correct, Ryan. Make sure to report facts accurately." Ryan's face burned red. The class stifled laughter. Small, deliberate exposures. Karma in motion. During lunch, I noticed Lily sitting with Mia, quietly talking. I joined them. "Hey, you two." Lily looked up, a faint smile on her lips. "Hey, Alex. You've changed," Mia said softly. "The way you handle things, you're smart but not cruel." I shrugged, trying to appear modest. "Just learning. Observing. Making sure people see the truth." Lily glanced at me. I trust you now. Not like before. I know you won't use it against me or anyone." I nodded. "Good. That's all I ever wanted. Trust goes both ways." We sat in comfortable silence, watching Ryan try to rally his friends in the courtyard, his attempts at dominance increasingly transparent and failing. The thrill wasn't in watching him suffer, it was in seeing balance restored. People noticed. Truth eventually always does. "Alex," Lily said softly, "thank you for seeing me. Not just my mistakes." I smiled. "Everyone deserves that chance. Even you, even me, even Ryan eventually." Julia's words echoed in my mind. Restraint is power. Observe. Let karma do its work. By the end of the day, Ryan's small lies had been quietly exposed to peers and teachers alike. His inner circle whispered, unsure how to respond. I stayed in the shadows, taking notes, observing reactions. Each misstep, each pause, each faltering smile from Ryan reinforced my understanding. Subtlety, patience, and awareness were stronger than brute confrontation. Walking Lily home, she shared more about her family's struggles. Her mother working multiple jobs, her father distant, the constant weight of responsibility on her young shoulders. I listened, offering quiet words, empathy, and support. I thought about the duality of my life now: karma for Ryan, compassion for Lily. Two sides coexisting. One taught me strategy, observation, control. The other reminded me why kindness still mattered, why understanding still mattered. By the time I reached my door, night had fallen. The day had been long, complicated, and exhausting. But I felt empowered, grounded, balanced. I whispered to the darkness, "Karma doesn't need me to shout. It moves in motion. I just need to stay aware. Compassion doesn't weaken me. It strengthens me." And in that quiet, I realized I could play the game, watch justice unfold, and still remain human. I closed my notebook, heart steady. The lessons of the day would carry me forward. Careful, patient, compassionate, and wise. Tomorrow I would continue observing. Tomorrow karma would keep moving. And tomorrow I'd be ready for whatever unfolded next. The auditorium smelled of polished wood and perfume, buzzing with chatter and excitement. Today wasn't just any school gathering, it was the annual talent showcase, the biggest social event of the year. I stayed near the back, observing. Every detail mattered. Every glance, every whisper, every laugh. "Alex, you ready?" Julia's voice was calm, almost serene, beside me. "Tonight's the culmination. Remember, control, observation, patience." "I'm ready," I said, trying to steady my nerves. My hands tightened around my notebook. Ryan was already there, center stage in his mind, strutting through the crowd with exaggerated charm. "Check him out," I muttered under my breath. Completely oblivious. "Exactly. That's when the strike matters most," Julia whispered. "When he feels untouchable." I swallowed, heart thumping, and watched him flirt with classmates, boasting about achievements no one could verify. "I organized the entire fundraiser," he said loudly. "Everyone knows it. Without me, the school would have failed last year." I let my lips twitch into a faint smile. "Small lies repeated too often," I murmured. "They're bound to collapse." Across the room, Lily and Mia noticed me, their eyes following every subtle movement. I gave Lily a small nod. She returned it with a faint, approving smile. "Trust, empathy." They both understood without words. Ryan climbed onto the stage, grabbing the microphone for his speech. And so I stepped forward calmly, standing at the edge of the crowd, letting everyone notice my presence. "Actually, Ryan," I said, voice steady, catching the murmurs around us. "I think people should hear the full story." He froze mid-sentence, eyes narrowing. "What, Alex? You?" I raised a hand slightly, silencing him, and continued, "The fundraiser last year? Emma and Sam documented everything. Every task you claimed as yours is logged. Credit goes where it's due." Whispers spread through the audience. Ryan's friends shifted uncomfortably. He blinked, trying to regain composure, but the cracks were visible. "No, that's not true," he stammered. I was. "You were exaggerating," I said firmly. "And people noticed." "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes." Murmurs grew louder, some snickers even echoing from the back. His usual arrogance faltered, his face flushing crimson. Julia's voice came softly behind me. "Good. Stay composed. Observe the effect, don't let the thrill push you too far." I nodded, even as satisfaction surged. But the moment demanded more than whispers. I approached the stage calmly, every step measured. Ryan's eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing his face for the first time all year. "Ryan," I said, voice carrying across the room, "I think you need to understand something." He opened his mouth, stammered, "Alex." I didn't let him finish. My hand connected firmly with his cheek. The slap echoed, sharp and undeniable, a symbolic closure I had longed for. Silence followed. Every head turned. Every eye focused. Ryan staggered slightly, stunned, his mouth opening and closing without forming words. I took a deep breath. "Not out of cruelty," I said, keeping my voice steady, "but because this ends here. The arrogance, the lies, the manipulation. You underestimated me, and it cost you." The room remained silent, the impact clear. Ryan's smirk was gone, replaced by embarrassment, confusion, and a hint of shame he had never known before. From the back, Julia clapped softly, a proud smile on her face. "Perfect control," she whispered. Lily stepped forward, her eyes shining with admiration and relief. Alex, that was amazing. You've changed. I glanced at her, feeling a strange calm. Yeah, I have. And so should he. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Some students whispered congratulations. Others gawked, shocked. But I felt composed, confident, finally in control. Ryan's friends tried to intervene, but the authority in my stance, the clarity in my words, and the undeniable truth had rendered them speechless. He shuffled down from the stage, face burning, and muttered something inaudible. I exhaled, letting the tension release. It's over, I whispered to myself. Lily approached me, hesitant but smiling. I didn't think anyone could stand up to him like that. You really did it. It's not about winning, I said quietly. It's about balance, justice, and finally, closure. Mia appeared behind her, nodding. Exactly. And you did it without losing yourself. I glanced at Ryan one last time. He was slumped, embarrassed, and no amount of arrogance could hide it. My chest no longer fluttered with longing or resentment. My feelings had collapsed entirely, replaced by clarity and self-respect. Julia leaned close, whispering, "Now you understand, Alex. Power isn't about cruelty. It's about presence, awareness, and knowing when to act." I nodded. I understand. Completely. Lily reached out, lightly touching my arm. I trust you, Alex. Not because of what you did tonight, but because of who you are. I smiled softly. That means more than anything. The rest of the event passed in a blur. Ryan slunk quietly into the crowd, his confidence shattered, while I remained composed, observing, aware. I no longer cared about him as a crush, as a target, or as a threat. He was a lesson fully learned. Walking home afterward, I felt a weight lift, a calm settling over me. The crush had fallen. The games had been played, karma served. And for the first time in months, I felt free, strong, and entirely myself. I whispered into the night, smiling faintly, "Closure isn't vengeance. It's empowerment." And tonight, I finally understood it. I sat on the bench outside the school, the late afternoon sun warm on my face. The air smelled faintly of chalk dust and freshly cut grass, the familiar scent of classrooms and hallways still lingering. I closed my eyes and let myself breathe. Finally. "Alex." Lily's voice broke through my thoughts. She stepped up beside me, hands tucked nervously into her jacket. I opened my eyes and smiled faintly. "Hey Lily. You okay?" She nodded, though her lips quivered slightly. "Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. For everything. For noticing me, for not giving up, for, being kind even after the soup incident." I chuckled softly. "That seems like ages ago." She smiled faintly, but there was sincerity in her eyes. "It does. And it feels like a lifetime too. I learned something from you, Alex. That kindness doesn't have to be weakness. That people can really see you if you let them." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I learned that too. More than I thought I would. About others, but mostly about myself." She glanced at me curiously. "How so?" I leaned back, letting the sunlight warm my face. I realized that the world doesn't always reward kindness immediately. That people like Ryan, they can hurt, manipulate, and lie. But observing, understanding, and choosing when and how to act, that's what matters. That's power. Not cruelty. Not revenge. Lily looked down, twirling a strand of hair. I see that now. And I see why you handled everything the way you did. You grew." I shrugged, trying to downplay it, but I felt the truth in her words. "I guess. I used to think that being nice meant I'd get stepped on. But being kind and being strong aren't opposites. They can coexist." She nodded slowly, eyes thoughtful. I want to believe that. I want to believe in people again. Thanks to you." I smiled softly, feeling a warmth in my chest. "You deserve to believe, Lily. Everyone deserves that chance." She looked at me, hesitation in her eyes. "Alex, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you forgive him?" She nodded toward the school, where Ryan lingered with his friends, trying to piece himself back together socially. I exhaled slowly. I'm working on it. Forgiving him, forgiving myself. It's not easy. But I'm learning that holding on to anger only weighs you down. Closure isn't about making him suffer. It's about freeing myself. Lily nodded quietly, a small smile forming. "That makes sense. I think I need to forgive myself too. For lashing out at you, for not trusting." I reached out and lightly touched her arm. "We both made mistakes. But that doesn't define us. It's what we learn afterward that matters." She smiled, a real smile this time, not the cautious one from before. Thanks, Alex. For everything. Really. I felt a lump in my throat but kept my voice steady. You're welcome. I'm glad we can see each other now, honestly, without walls. Julia appeared then, stepping onto the path with her usual calm presence. Alex, she said, a proud smile tugging at her lips. I've been observing. You've matured. Your patience, your restraint, your understanding of the balance between strength and empathy. It's impressive. I chuckled softly. Thanks, Julia. It wasn't easy, but I think I finally get it. Power isn't loud. It's knowing when to act and when to hold back. She nodded, eyes warm. Exactly. And forgiving even when it's hard is part of that. You've learned much more than social strategy. You've learned life lessons. I glanced back toward the school, toward Ryan, toward the corridors where everything started. The soup incident, the humiliation, the subtle games of observation and exposure. Yeah, it's been a journey. Humbling, painful, but necessary. Lily looked up at me, her eyes bright. Do you think you'll ever hold resentment again? I shook my head slowly. I don't think so. Maybe for a moment, sometimes, but not for long. Resentment doesn't change anything. Understanding, learning, acting wisely, that's what changes things. She smiled, and I felt the tension of the past months begin to ease. I'm glad we both got through it, and that we found each other's trust again. I nodded, feeling the final pieces of my internal conflict settle. Yeah. Trust, kindness, awareness. I finally understand their value. And I'll carry that forward in life, not just with school, not just with him, not just with you. Julia stepped back slightly, letting the moment linger. You've grown, Alex. Truly. From a shy, trusting kid to someone who knows the balance between strength and compassion. That's rare. I looked at Lily, then Julia, then back at the sun dipping low on the horizon. It feels good. Peaceful. And that's enough, I think. Enough to move forward without bitterness, without regret. Lily reached out, lightly brushing my hand. We all needed that, in different ways. Yeah, I said softly. We did. And now we start fresh. With lessons learned, with kindness intact, and with awareness guiding us. I exhaled, letting the warmth of the late afternoon sun seep into me. Closure doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning, forgiving, and moving forward. I think I finally can do that. The school stood quietly behind us, a familiar backdrop to the months of turmoil and growth. But I wasn't the same. Not broken, not naive. Stronger, wiser, compassionate, and ready for whatever came next. Thank you, I whispered quietly, almost to myself, for the lessons, for the growth, for letting me finally understand. And in that moment, with Lily beside me and Julia watching proudly, I felt whole. The morning sunlight spilled across the school courtyard, warm and golden. I breathed it in deeply, savoring the calm. For the first time in months, I didn't feel rushed, anxious, or hunted by expectations. Life had changed and I was changing with it. Alex. Julia called from across the courtyard, waving with her usual energy. She jogged over, hair bouncing, eyes bright. You're up early. Feeling ready? I grinned, adjusting my backpack. Always. Today feels different. Lighter, somehow. Good, she said, smiling. That's the new you I've been waiting to see. I laughed softly. The new me is still me. Just more aware, I guess. And less naive. Julia nodded knowingly. Awareness is power. But don't forget empathy. That's what makes you human. I watched her for a moment. I won't. I've learned that the hard way. We walked together to the main building, side by side. Conversations flowed naturally, laughter rising easily. The weight of past humiliation, manipulations, and anger felt distant now. I was calmer, steadier, stronger. Later, I found Lily near the garden, arranging flowers for the school's upcoming event. She looked up as I approached, a bright, genuine smile on her face. Hey Alex, she said, brushing dirt off her hands. Perfect timing. Want to help? Of course, I replied, kneeling beside her. So, what's the plan? She pointed toward the flower beds. We need to rearrange these and make sure the colors match the theme. It's simple, but it matters. I smiled, feeling warmth in my chest. It matters because you care. She laughed softly. And because I'm lucky to have someone like you to notice. I chuckled, digging into the soil carefully. Just returning the favor. You helped me see a lot too. Lily glanced at me, her eyes thoughtful. You've really changed. More confident, more patient, and not just with me. With everyone. I had to, I admitted. Life doesn't hand out lessons politely. You either learn or you stay stuck. She smiled. I think we both learned. I feel stronger now, and I actually enjoy trusting people again. I nodded, feeling satisfaction in her words. That's good. Because you deserve it. Everyone deserves that chance. As we worked, Julia joined us with a few classmates carrying supplies and chatting easily. Look at you too, she said teasingly. I can tell there's teamwork and mutual respect. I smirked lightly. We've earned it. Lily laughed. Earned it the hard way. I glanced at her, remembering the soup incident, the chaos, the humiliation. It felt surreal now. Yeah, the hard way. Alex, a voice called suddenly. I turned to see Ryan standing awkwardly near the entrance, holding a stack of papers. He looked smaller somehow, less confident, like the arrogance had been drained from him entirely. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. Ryan, I said calmly. Hey, he muttered, shifting from foot to foot. I just wanted to, hand these over. For the event. I raised an eyebrow, studying him carefully. Handing over papers, Ryan? You've really learned humility, haven't you? He swallowed nervously. Yeah. I guess I have. I've realized things about myself. About the way I acted. I nodded slowly, keeping my tone neutral. Good. Self-awareness is a start. He shifted, awkwardly avoiding eye contact. I just wanted to say, sorry, Alex. For everything. Really. I exhaled softly. It's accepted. But remember, words are only as valuable as actions. Prove it through what you do, not what you say. Ryan nodded quickly, then shuffled away, leaving me with a calm sense of closure. He faded into irrelevance, not through malice but through natural consequence and truth. Lily looked at me, a faint smile tugging at her lips. That was impressive. You didn't gloat, you didn't humiliate him. Just handled it. I shrugged. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about understanding balance. And moving forward. Julia approached, clapping lightly. Exactly. That's maturity, Alex. You've grown beyond the need for revenge, beyond anger, and into awareness. And it suits you. I felt a rush of warmth, the validation not from triumph but from growth. Thanks, Julia. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. She smirked. I didn't guide you so much as let you learn. But I'm proud of you. The afternoon flowed easily. I helped Lily and Julia set up decorations, shared laughs with classmates, and felt the subtle pulse of life around me. For once, I was not worried about judgment, betrayal, or humiliation. I was part of something larger, balanced, aware, and compassionate. At one point, a new student approached, a quiet, thoughtful presence, eyes curious. Hi. I'm Max, he said softly. I noticed you helping everyone so smoothly. It's impressive. I smiled lightly. Thanks, Max. It's easier when you care about what you do. He glanced at Lily, then back at me. I hope we can work together sometime. You seem someone worth learning from. I felt a flicker of something, connection, curiosity, potential friendship, maybe more but subtle, understated. I'd like that, I said. We'll see where it goes. Lily laughed softly beside me. Looks like someone new is noticing the new Alex. I glanced at her, smiling warmly. Yeah, but for now I'm focusing on today. On us. On growing. On kindness, awareness, and balance. Julia leaned back, observing, a proud smile on her face. You've fully stepped into yourself now. Stronger, wiser, and compassionate. That's the true rebirth. I nodded, feeling the full weight of it. All the humiliation, all the betrayal, all the lessons. They culminated here in this moment of calm, growth, and awareness. Lily looked at me, a twinkle in her eye. We've come a long way, haven't we? Yes, I said softly, watching her smile. We have. And this is just the beginning. The sun dipped lower, painting the courtyard in gold and amber. I felt a sense of satisfaction I hadn't known months ago, the culmination of growth, empathy, and understanding. Life wasn't perfect, but I was ready for it. Stronger, aware, kind, and unafraid. I whispered quietly to myself, smiling faintly, reborn, aware, and ready. This is me, finally. And for the first time in a long while, I felt entirely at peace with the past, present, and future.